So this video is going to introduce to you a few common fraction calculations. So we've got converting fractions into percentages or decimals. We have got finding fractions of an amount. We've also got the simple arithmetic functions, so multiplying, dividing, adding and subtracting functions. So let's have a look at each of these examples. First is to convert 4/5 into a percentage or a decimal. There are a couple of different ways that we can do this. So let's go through the two examples. We could do 4, which is your numerator, the top number is the numerator, and we could times that by 100, and then we could divide the answer by 5. Okay, so that would give us 400 divided by 5 would be 80. Alternately, if you prefer, what you could do is do the 100 and divide it by 5 first, which gives you 20, and then you can multiply by the 4. It doesn't matter the order. What matters is following the method that works for you. This works very well as long as the denominator happens to also be a factor of 100. So these would be 80%. That's no problem. If we want to convert into a decimal from here, well, we're just going to take our percentage, which was 80, and divide that by 100. So when we want to divide anything by 100, what we're going to do is take the invisible decimal place that you would have and move it 2 places over towards the left. Okay, so I put in the decimal here. In fact, let's draw it all back in. 0.08. So that's 4/5, both into percentage. And once you have the percentage, it's fairly easy to convert into a decimal. Another thing you might be asked to do is to use sums where you find a fraction of an amount. Now this one is an amount of money, but please pay attention to whatever units you've actually been asked to find. So again, there are a couple of ways we can do this, but we'll sort of stick to our sort of traditional methods. So if I do similarly to finding a percentage, we could do 3 lots of 3 lots of the 420. Okay, so that's one way we can do this. So 4 lots of 120. Sorry, 3 lots of 420. 1,260. And then we can divide that by 8. So again, we could use bus stop method for instance here. So 1, 3, 8. So 8 goes into 12. Just the once, leaving you with 46 remaining. 46 then divided by the 8 would give you 5. And 5 times by the 8 is 40. So we've got 6 to carry forward. And 60 divided by 8 would give me 7 lots. Which would also leave me, so 56, I'd have 4 left. So I'd have 4/8 left, which would mean I'd have a half. Okay, so I'd end up with £157.50. We want to have the 2 decimals at the end because we're talking about money. Alternately, I can do the 420 and I can divide it by 8 originally. So I can say 420, divide that between 8. And again, I can do that bust up if I want to. So again, there are other ways of doing this, but that's absolutely fine. So 8 does not go into 4. 8 does go into 42. 5 times, leaving me with 20, and 8 goes into 20 just the twice, and again leaves me with 4 eighths remaining, 4 eighths being the same as 0.5 half, so I get 52.5, and then I can multiply it up by 3, and you can see that's another method of getting to the same answer. Okay, quite often your fraction questions will involve some sort of arithmetic. Multiplying fractions is probably the easiest. So if we have 4/7 times by 8/11, we just want to multiply our numerators together and we multiply our denominators together. So in this case, we are going to do 4 times by the 8 to get 32. And then we're going to do the 8 over the 11, so we'll do 7 times 11 to get 77. Always look to see if there is a common factor to simplify the fraction. For 32 and 77 there isn't, so we'll leave that as it is. With dividing, there's just an extra step to be made. So we're going to take 4 over 9, and where we would have that divided by 7 over 8, what we're going to do is keep the first fraction as it is. We're going to change the sign into a multiplication, and we're going to flip the second fraction over. So some people either call this keep, change, flip, or the letters also represent KFC, which is easy to remember, but just remember keep the first fraction, flip the second fraction, change the sign. So let's have a look. We're going to do it now, have just a multiplication question. So there we go. So I want to do 4 times by the 8, again this time it's 32, and now I've got 9 times by the 7 to get 63, and again we want to just double check whether or not we've got any common factors that I can simplify this. As it happens, 32 and 63 also don't have any common factors, so we'd leave that as it is. For addition, some of you might be used to doing equivalent fractions. Let's do this with that method, and then we'll use an alternate method as well. So with 4/5 added to 3/4, I want to think of the lowest common multiple of 5 and 4, which is 20. So to get to 20, I need to multiply the first fraction by 4 and the second fraction by 5. So I'm actually going to have 16/20 added to 15/20. Okay, when I do this, I can see that I would end up with 31 over 20. I can then, of course, make this into a mixed fraction if necessary, so 20 goes into 31 once and leaves me with 11/20. The other method you can use for this is to take the 4/5 plus the 3/4 and use a method. People have different names for it. I always like the term smile and kiss. So smile means multiply the two bottom numbers together, and kiss, it's like in Granny's card where you would multiply the diagonals. So again, I always multiply by the top left first. So I would do the 4 times by the 5, of course, being 20. 4 times 4 making that 16, and the 5 times by the 3 getting 15, and you can see that you end up with exactly the same answer as before. You can use either of those methods also for the subtraction question. So if I had 7 over 8, again I could look for the lowest common multiple of 8 and 15, or I can use the method that I was just using, which is sort of the smile and kiss, if you like. So 8 and 15 would both have a lowest common multiple of 120. Is that right? Yes, I think that's right. So let's do that method first. So to get to 120, I would have to multiply 8 by 15. So I need to times this one by 15, and I'd need to multiply this one by 8. So I need to do 7 lots of 15 to get 105, and that will then be over 120. And then I need to do 12 lots of 8 to get 96. And now I can do the 105, take away the 96 to get 9 over 120. Well, 9 over 120 can be simplified by dividing by the highest common factor of 3. So I can end up with 3/40. So we can simplify to that. We, of course, can use the same method as before, where we use 7/8, and we just use what I referred to as a smile and kiss method. And you can see actually it's going to end up very similar. 105, take away the 96 over the 120. This is a good method to get into before you start anything with algebra in your fractions. And again, obviously that gives you the same result. Okay, so there are lots and lots of different things that we can do with fractions, but that introduces you to the basics of most.